Hi, I'm Ash from DroningON, and we've got yet another micro brushless quad. This time it's been sent to us from GearBest, and it's the ARFun95Pro. Priced at just £100 or about $130, it's equipped with an F3 flight controller running BetaFlight, a 4-in-1 brushless speed controller and 4 powerful brushless motors. It's even got a buzzer for low voltage and lost model alarms. Let's see if it's any good. We're going to start with the unboxing. Please be sure to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe and of course comment below. Links to the products are in the video description. Thanks very much for watching. So in from GearBest, kindly sent to us for review, this is the ARFun95Pro. And there it is. So this is the ARFun 95mm brushless quadcopter. It's not a drone, and it's not packaged quite as nicely as the King Kong products, but hey, it's the quadcopter that counts. We've got the version with the FR Sky receiver. Make sure to select the right option when ordering. Note that it's a D8. That will be useful when we bind this with our Taranis. On the inside, we've got a single page instruction manual here on the receiver, and I guess this is going to be different depending on which receiver you spec with the quadcopter. We've then got a bag full of goodies, and in here we have three spare sets of props. Wow, that is great. That's a first. I've not seen that before on any quadcopter that I've reviewed. For the price, it's really nice that they throw in spare props because you will destroy these pretty rapidly and they are quite flimsy. Order lots of spares of these 4-bladed props, you will need them. We've got some spare screws as well. They are tiny little M2 screws. They're most likely for attaching the props. That's it in terms of accessories. And then we've got the drone itself, which is in here. And it comes with the battery actually already fitted underneath it. Bit tricky to get out of the bubble wrap there. And there it is. So it comes with the battery already fitted underneath into the Velcro strap. I'm just going to remove that temporarily. It's very similar actually to the King Kong Q90 in terms of its feel and size, although look at how thin those arms are. They are really, really slender. But fear not, it actually uses a 3mm carbon fiber cross frame, this one. So 3mm, you'll really struggle to break those arms. I'll be impressed if any of you out there do, of course, unless you hit a tree very fast. So you can see we've got the stacked design here. It's got a maybe 1.5, 2mm plate on top, but the main X frame is 3mm, so really rugged and solid. It's quite a tall quadcopter. It's not particularly low profile, but that's not a big issue. The battery sits underneath it in this Velcro strap. And inside here enclosed is an F3 flight controller, which also has a 4-in-1 BL heli speed controller system built into it. 20 amps maximum continuous, and it also supports D-Shot, which is really good. Nestled into the top here on the very, very upper part of the stack, you can just see under the top frame is the FR Sky receiver that's bundled with it. It looks like something similar to the AC800 Micro, tiny, tiny little receiver. But it's nice, they've routed the antenna through the top, which means the antenna's nice and away from any potential damage down here, which is normally where they mount the antennas. The only downside might be that there's no upper protection here. So if you do happen to roll and land upside down, potentially your VTX antenna and the radio antenna are potentially going to be damaged. Attached to the ends of these really slender arms are some 1104 7500 kV brushless motors. They are branded Aurora RC and are really minute little motors. The flight controller inside, as I mentioned, is an F3. It comes with BetaFlight already flashed to it, and that means we get the benefit as well of the BetaFlight OSD, which is already hooked up and connected to the camera. So we're going to get a really good on-screen display here. At the front, we've got the little VTX combined with a camera unit. The VTX is a 25 milliwatt, and attached to that is a 600 TVL CMOS camera. There's a lens on there as well, which gives an FOV of around 120, which I find to be generally pretty good actually for when flying these micro micros. Unfortunately, however, the camera's tilt is fixed, which I think is a real shame, and it's fixed at quite an angle actually. So it'll be very interesting to see what this is like to fly. I've seen many reviews out there stating that the ARFun95 is one of the fastest brushless micros out there. Well, with a tilt built in of about 45 degrees, non-adjustable, I'm not surprised. You have very little option but to fly fast. The VTX has two little buttons on there, built in two little micro switches. Generally, one of those is for flipping the image up and down, the other is for changing the channel, and this is a 48 channel VTX. Attached to that VTX is a small 3 dBi whip antenna, and I'm so pleased to see that. I hate the little circular antennas. They are always destroyed very easily on these quadcopters, so really nice to see a whip antenna for a change. And actually, I tend to find that the signal on these micros is better with whip antennas. So we'll have a look at how this fares during the flight test. In front of that is the antenna for the receiver. Also nice to see that sticking out of the top rather than just dangling out the bottom loosely, because it's more inclined to get damage down there than it is just up here fixed in position. Looking at the rear, we've got two LEDs there, which I'm not a massive fan. I'm not that excited about LEDs, but I am excited about the buzzer. How great to see buzzers starting to become standard on these micro quadcopters, because when the grass is getting long, as it is now as we approach summer, these are harder to find when they ditch. And although the speed controllers can tweak the motors and make them signal a kind of just about audible sound after about 5 minutes of idle, it's not generally loud enough to locate it in a big field. So great to see a buzzer which is going to act as a low voltage alarm and also a lost model alarm. Finally, just looking at the side there's a USB port which we'll use for programming the flight controller and connecting to BetaFlight. And just below that you can see the terminals to which the motors connect to from the 4-in-1 speed controller. There's another set of those on the other side as well. Just looking at the underside, there's a JST connector there for connecting to the battery. Unlike the King Kong models, this one doesn't use the balance port type connector. Just looking at the battery that comes with it, battery is a crazy 500 as it's branded. It's a 2S 7.4 volt 30C battery. So that should give a good flight time. Generally we see about 3 minutes on these micros. I have a few different batteries that I'll probably test with this during the test flight. Weight, of course, is important for our flight time, so let's have a look at what this weighs. Without the battery fitted, we're looking at 52 grams, which is really good. In fact, that's lighter than some of the brushed micro quads that I've reviewed in the past. If we add the 500 milliamp battery that comes with it, we get a total weight of 83. We're under that 100 gram mark, which seems to be the point at which quads of this size become brilliant or not, and so this is a good sign. So I'd always had real praise for the King Kong quadcopters because they came with a nice accessory bundle. It looks like the other manufacturers are finally starting to do the same. It's really great for this quadcopter to come with 3 sets of props, also lots of screws, battery straps and other accessories. So all in all, a really nice looking package. Let's get this bound to our Taranis and then it'll be time for the test flight. So what we're going to do now is bind the ARFun95 to our Taranis. Now remember, I've ordered the version of this which comes with the built-in FR Sky receiver, and I'm using it here with my Taranis X9D Plus. So the first thing I need to do is create a new model memory for my ARFun95, which I've done. We then need to go to the next page and scroll to the very bottom of that and set the receiver type to a D8. That's very important because it won't bind with the Taranis otherwise. Once you've done that, get ready with the bind button there. And we're going to just leave that to one side for now. So now to prepare the actual quadcopter ready for binding. Now it comes with a carbon plate on top, which I actually think is in the way of the receiver bind buttons. So just remove the 4 screws here and then you can remove that plate entirely, which then reveals the small, tiny little FR Sky receiver board. You can then see the bind button, which is there. So to get the receiver into a binding state, we need to get the power cord ready. So I'm going to get that almost ready to make contact, like that. Once I've done that, then need to press and hold the bind button whilst turning on the power. And you'll see we get that bright blue light there. That shows that the receiver is now ready to bind. So now back to our transmitter. If we now actually press bind on the Taranis, it will emit a series of beeps and hopefully that light will go out. There you go. The blue light's gone out on the receiver. That means it has successfully bound, and we're now ready to inspect the configuration in BetaFlight. So it's time to look at the flight controller configuration. First thing I'm going to do is plug in my USB cable into the quad and into the PC. That of course gives power to the flight controller, which makes it beep and everything. Now it's important to say, don't do this with your props fitted. Ensure that you remove the props before tweaking any configuration parameters. I've got the BetaFlight extension already installed in Chrome, so I'll click connect and we are now connected. First thing I do is calibrate the accelerometer. This one is already pretty perfect, but I'm going to do it anyway. Make sure it's absolutely on a flat surface and then click that button. There we go. Going to ignore the ports tab, we're not that interested. Configuration tab, you can see we've got DShot 600 enabled and all the other settings look absolutely fine. We've got the S-Bus receiver, which is already supplied with this quad. I'm using FrSky as a receiver. Battery voltage is enabled and so is current sensing. Gyro update is running at a staggeringly fast 8,000 and the PID loop frequency is running at 2 kHz. Accelerometer is enabled, as is the LED strip and importantly for us, the OSD. So one very important setting, of course, is the fail-safe setting, and that's to ensure that if we lose connection with the quad, it won't just carry on flying. So in the top right, click Enable Expert Mode, and you'll then have access to a fail-safe tab. Click on that, and then we're just going to check the settings, which actually all look fine. So fail-safe Enable Stage 2 is enabled. In the event of it losing connection, it will drop. Not particularly fond of that, but it's better than it just carrying on into somebody with props spinning. So quite happy with that, no issues there. We're going to leave it on the out of the box setting. Uncheck Enable Expert Mode, and then you can carry on with the configuration. Looking at the PID tuning tab, everything is set very low there actually. We will leave everything on factory settings to see how it flies, but lots of exponential built in there with the RC rate and super rate set as they are. So little gimbal movement's going to give us fine control, but move those gimbals further and you're going to be able to roll this thing pretty quickly. Looking at the receiver tab, now I've got my Taranis turned on at the moment. As you can see, all of the controls are working perfectly there. However, if I move my pitch, my throttle is going up and down, which obviously is wrong. So on the channel map here, because I'm using FrSky with Taranis, I need to alter that to be the Taranis one, which is TAER. Click Save, and that will reset the configuration here. And now if I do pitch, roll, rudder, and throttle, it's all working perfectly. However, one thing to note, you'll see that with my controls all at neutral and my throttle at nil, the actual endpoints there are not right. So full pitch is 2027, minimum pitch is 1007, which is wrong. Now on the screen now, you'll see a link to correct that. I've written an article, click that, and that will let you fix the issue and give you much better control over your quadcopter. So do be sure to do that if you notice that your endpoints are not set correctly. I'll correct those later. Next, we're going to configure our modes. So I'm going to go to the receiver tab, look at which switch our mode switch is configured to. It's configured on aux1. So I'm going to go back to the modes tab, add in angle, horizon, and also air mode, because we're going to be switching air mode on and off with that channel. You can see if I move my mode switch now, the orange lines move between them. So we want air mode on for the later two modes, and we want angle mode to be the first position. Remember, angle mode is the entirely stabilized mode. We're then going to have in the middle position, horizon mode, which is the hybrid between angle and rate mode. In fact, if I save that first, there we go. So position 0 or position, the first position will be angle. Position 2 will be horizon with air mode. Position 3 will be rate mode with air mode. The only other thing we now need to configure is the beeper. Now this is going to serve as our lost model alarm, and I'm going to configure that. Let's just save that first. I'm going to configure that onto my third switch, which is this one, which is on aux2. So go back to modes, set beeper to aux2, Move the sliders up right to the top. And if I now save that and toggle my switch down to that position, I should get a beep. There we go. Now hopefully we're not going to lose the model that often, but if we do, we're now going to be able to find it. So that's good. That's our modes all configured. We're not going to alter anything else. There is the option here to turn the on-screen display on and off, which is quite nice, but we probably won't need to do that. So the final important step is to calibrate the speed controllers. And the way that you do that is, remember, no batteries connected currently to the quadcopter. What we need to do is toggle this little button on here, set the master to full. Remember, no batteries connected at the moment, so nothing will happen until we connect the battery. So with that now set, plug the battery into the quadcopter, and remember, no prop should be fitted at this time. You'll get a series of beeps from the quadcopter, and then you slide the master switch back down to 0. And that final confirmation beep is just to tell you that the speed controllers are all now calibrated. Unplug the battery from the quad, and that's now done. Finally, we'll have a quick look at the OSD settings. This is brilliant. I love this. We've got the inbuilt BetaFlight OSD, and we've got a number of options here, so we can turn on or off lots of these little features. Now, I don't want the artificial horizon. I don't want the sidebars. Not that bothered about the craft name, but I'm going to leave it there anyway. We want the fly mode. We want the current draw. That's quite interesting, actually. And that's about it, really. In fact, milliamps drawn is also very useful to give us an idea of when our battery's fully drained, although it's not always very accurate. We're going to leave it set to that for now. I think it's time to fly this quadcopter. Let's go on to the flight test. So we've got a very overcast day today, unfortunately, but we'll try our best to make this a good flight test. So we've got the ARFun95 down here, and I've actually got not the standard battery that came with it, but a 550 pack attached to it, just a bit more power. So we'll power it up. See the nice bright LEDs on the back, nice and colourful, really, really good. We're going to start off in the stabilised mode, which basically means we can't roll the quad, but we'll use that just to see how it performs. So, arm the quad. Obviously we've not got air mode enabled, as you'll remember from the programming of the flight controller. So the props don't spin until we up the throttle, but we're up in the air. So I have got a bit of a wind today as well. Well, not me, the weather. But it's very, very quiet, this one. It must be a combination of props and also needing a very low RPM to get this into a hover. But you can see the wind blowing me all over the place. But yeah, this thing is very quiet. So we'll go for a little fly around. Very, very smooth flyer. Remember, this is all factory PIDs, factory exponential, not changed anything, and it goes really, really nicely. Obviously, I'm not trying at the moment to go fast. So let's go for a punch. So here it is, 3, 2, 1. Wow. It doesn't even sound like it's taking any effort for it to do that. That's incredible. That's without question far quicker than the Aurora 100 and the King Kongs that I've tested. Let's just do that again. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Wow. Yeah, you can hear the flight controller as well, just telling us that we're hitting our maximum ampage there as well when we do that flat out, but wow, that's quick. Okay, we'll do that one more time. 3, 2, 1. Woohoo! Wow, that's bloody quick. Wow. So that's really, really impressive. I'll try and go for a little bit more of a bit more forward flight speed. Really goes well, this. Really, really quick. I'm not even pushing it at the moment, you know, I'm just literally cruising around. I can't wait to get this on FPV. Goes really, really well. Let's try some basic maneuvers. So the yaw rate, factory yaw rate, is bloody quick. Wow. Okay. really, really quick. Oh, lost orientation then for a second. Okay, now I'm just going to flip it into the semi-stabilized mode, and let's see how we get on with doing some rolls. So here we go. Really nice. Let's try a quicker one. Oof, bloody hell. Yeah, that's really quick. So I must mind my language. Try a little bit of a forward roll loop. Yeah, again, very, very nice. This thing is really, really quick. Might need to adjust the voltage actually, because I'm getting lots of beeping here, and I know that I'm well within ampage range or voltage range on this battery. It's fully charged, so you can hear it's beeping non-stop. Doesn't bother some pilots, but it does bother me. I want it to beep when I need to know about it, not just constantly. Oh, it goes really, really well. Right, I think that's enough of the line of sight. I think it's time to get this on a little bit of an FPV flight test. So we'll do that right now. So I couldn't have chosen a worse day for a flight test. Unfortunately, it's so overcast here and a bit miserable. As you can see through the FPV camera, it looks horrible. But this camera is very light sensitive, it seems. If I point this camera towards the ground, you can see immediately everything lightens up, although the picture quality is still horrific. Now I have sharpened this lens on the camera to make the picture a bit clearer, but I don't know, I think maybe I've got a bad camera here. But anyway, we're going to give this FPV flight test a quick go. We know this thing flies really well from the line of sight test. Got a new battery in there now as well, so I'm going to set it down on its takeoff pad, and we'll just see how it goes, because I might not be able to see a whole lot. So it looks like it's actually about to start raining, so I'm going to be very quick with this and get on with it. So straight into acro mode and arm, and off we go. Now I can't really see a great deal, unfortunately, because of the horrible lens, or there's something wrong. It's probably with the lens, I don't know. I've cleaned it as much as I can, but it does fly really, really well, this quad. Wow, I mean, it's so solid in the air, and the speed of it, I feel like I'm flying a 200 class quad here. Goes absolutely beautifully. And it's such a shame about the camera, because I would be loving this right now if the camera was good on it. But it goes beautifully. And a little bit of acro there, absolutely lovely. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubting the capabilities of this quad. It just flies beautifully. The Aurora 100 is very, very smooth, but this thing is without doubt even smoother. Very, very nice. Very well balanced. And the PIDs, you know, the factory PIDs that I'm flying now, certainly not a lot wrong with those. I'm getting a lot of breakup, could be to do with the weather today. It's a pretty grotty, grim day here. Doesn't help for sure, but oh, this thing goes beautifully, and it rolls so quickly as well, unbelievably quickly. But just coupled with this bad camera, unfortunately, or the bad lens at least, and now it's started raining, means that I think my fun today is unfortunately over. But what a great quad to fly, and I can't wait to pull this thing out on a sunny day. So let's hit the summary. Might be dragging this out for a part 2.
Now, some other reviewers are claiming that this is the best micro brushless ever, and that it's without any faults. Well, at DroningON you'll get the honest, unbiased verdict. It is indeed very good, but it does have a few issues. The camera doesn't seem to handle light change very well, especially when transitioning between the ground and the sky, and that can be a real off-put when you're racing. The camera angle can't be adjusted, although the factory angle is quite nice for racing and getting up speed, but also the mounting method itself is not very well designed. They've simply used a zip tie around the lens of the camera, which puts stress on the VTX and the camera PCB. That's really not too good. The battery strap that comes with the quad doesn't work very well, nor does it hold the battery securely, and I actually swapped mine out for one from my Runcam 2. The VTX signal strength is not very good, as you saw from the flight test, and I was getting a lot of breakup. Personally, I would recommend swapping out the combined VTX and camera and replacing it with something far better. But onto the positives, it flies solidly and reliably with the factory PIDs. You could further tune it, but you probably won't need to. The nicely shaped props are very quiet. Even when punching out, this quad is really not stressing itself. It may even handle a 3S battery, just for some added fun. It has loads of power and is probably the fastest brushless micro that we have tested so far. It's feature packed and includes all the key elements of specification that I generally tend to look for, including a buzzer, on-screen display and maybe even the LEDs, although I'm not too bothered about those. And finally, for what you get in this package, it is great value. At just over £100 or $120, it is definitely well worth the money. Overall, it is a great little brushless micro, but it's certainly not the best, but no doubt the next model will fix some of those issues that we found. I really hope that you've enjoyed this review. If you're not already a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button now, as we will soon be announcing some giveaway competitions. Also give the video a thumbs up and of course drop a comment below. We love interaction with our viewers and your comments always make us smile. Thanks very much for watching.